pretty much my city would have, it would have free healthcare. We would not have homeless people, and we would get rid of rent control. This is what we would do for my city. If I was San Francisco mayor, what would I change? What up, YouTube? It's your boy Jermaine back with another video. This video is backed by popular demand. People always ask me, Jermaine, if you were mayor, if San Francisco was your city, what would you do to change the city? And I thought I would just sit down and make a video talking about this, but I do have to warn you guys. This video is going to be insane. Just to let you know before you watch this video, it's going to be some crazy things in this video. And hopefully like London Breed doesn't see this video. Hopefully like this video doesn't get that many views because like I say, hold your horses, get ready. This video is going to be insane. So first off, what would I do in the city, my city? So pretty much my city would have, it would have free healthcare. We would not have homeless people, and we would get rid of rent control. This is what we would do for my city. Now, how in the heck are we going to get rid of rent control and also get rid of homeless people? And how is this going to work? So let's just jump right into this video. So first off, free healthcare. Now, Jermaine, how in the heck are you going to provide free healthcare to your city, your utopia city? Well, how I would provide healthcare, I would increase taxes on a lot of things in the city. Let's just go down the list. Now, guys, like I say, this video is going to be insane. First off, fast food restaurants, we would increase the taxes on fast food restaurants to 100%. And the reason why we would do this is we would discourage people from eating unhealthy foods. This is what we would do in our city. And this is how we would provide free healthcare to people. The insane taxes on food and things that actually kill you and actually hurt your body, we would tax these things at 100% to discourage people from doing these things in our city. Now, you guys may know I'm vegan, and this may be a little controversial what I'm about to say next, but when you go to the grocery store, things like meat and, red meat, pork, chicken, we would tax these things. We would tax these things at a very, very high rate. I don't even want to say a rate in this video because I don't want to be too extreme. But basically, we would tax unhealthy things in the grocery store, things like sodas and, even cigarettes. We would definitely increase the taxes on cigarettes. I think cigarettes are like $10 a pack in the city already. If I was mayor, I would just double that price. We'd make it $20 a pack. However, people could easily go outside of the city and buy cigarettes, and then bring them into the city. Yeah, people could easily do that. But if you want to buy cigarettes within the city, we would just charge a really, really high tax because once again, this is something that makes you sick. And we would definitely charge a crazy tax for it. Marijuana, we would also increase the taxes on that too. Or I don't know, maybe we would keep the taxes the same because that, so many people smoke weed, and I mean it's San Francisco, and come on, we don't want to make taxes too expensive on everything. Alcohol, if you buy alcohol at a liquor store or a grocery store, we would increase the tax on alcohol to 100%. Now, there is an exception. If you go to a bar and you buy alcohol, there is no additional tax. So it would be $5 a drink, $10 a drink, whatever. And we would do that to get more people to go out in our city because this is the city I want, and I want people to go out more. I want people to go out and be around other people more in my city. And I don't want, people to just be at home, drinking on Twitch with their friends. And I don't want it to be like an antisocial city. So I want to put laws into place to get people to go out more, So that's one of the insane laws I would pass. And this is how we would have free healthcare in Jermaine's Utopia, San Francisco. We would definitely increase taxes on things that make people sick. And we would, use that money for free healthcare. And the free healthcare that we would have in San Francisco would be like actual free healthcare, not you have to, go sign up for some insurance company and then you have to go fill out all this paperwork and then you get free healthcare after you wait 30 days or 90 days or something like that, which is really confusing for most people. We would just have free healthcare. When you're sick, you just go to the hospital and they just take you in and they just work on you, and they don't ask you your name basically. I mean, they would ask you your name, but they don't need a credit card. They would just help you. They would have free healthcare like that in my city. Other things that we would do in the city. Now, like I say, things are gonna get crazy here. Okay, so next off, the homeless situation. Jermaine, what would you do with the homeless situation? What are you gonna do with the homeless situation? So first off, I honestly don't think that San Francisco could solve the homeless situation on their own. I don't think I don't think they can do it. I think whatever the city does, it's not really gonna be a big help, because if the city does anything that's gonna be very successful, other places are gonna see, and they're gonna send more homeless people to the city, which is gonna like hurt the city and drain the city. It's just gonna keep hurting the city. So what I would do is I would, pressure the government, the federal government, the White House somehow, to create some sort of bill to end homelessness for the entire country. Yes, I would do this. I would pressure the government. Let's end it for the entire country. In this way, San Francisco could really end its homeless situation problem, because if this is being ended from the top, like at the top, if we're going to do this as a whole country, that means that San Francisco could really succeed in getting homeless people off the street. So what exactly do we do with all the homeless people? Do we just put them on buses and we send them somewhere else? No, I don't necessarily think that's the best idea, to take people and displace them. I could see how that could work, but then I could also see how that could be a really big problem. I think what we should do is we should use technology and we should move forward. We have a lot of universities in San Francisco. We have a lot of campuses in San Francisco. And honestly, I don't think that kids are going to go back to school like they did before the pandemic. And if this is something that I believe, I also think that we should, maybe get rid of the San Francisco Community College. Okay. You can have kids study online. They can, study online, and we should, get rid of the whole school, and we should put the homeless people there. I mean, the university, not the university, but the city college already has all the facilities to house people, like house homeless people. And instead of just sticking homeless people in a hotel, which helps them, but it kind of doesn't really help them. Like, you're just taking them off the street, but you're not like gearing them for society. You're just taking them off the street, and then what? You have to keep helping them. So I say we should, put them somewhere like a university, and we should like give them like housing, and give them things to do, like give them food, give them let them go play sports, let them go to the library and read, give them things to do, put them in classes. And I'm not talking about a class where you have to, take multiple choice tests and you have to study for 3 weeks at a time. No, put them in classes with no test. Okay, put them in something that where you just talk to them and you teach them and you get them back on their feet. And we don't just need to do this just in San Francisco. This needs to be something that happens all across the country at the same time. This is one reason I think that this is one way I think we could solve the homeless situation in San Francisco, but it would take a lot of help from outside of the city. And then we could actually see a day where there are no homeless people in our city. And we can also see a day where there are no homeless people in our country. I think it needs to happen from the top. And I think whatever the city does, they're just going to literally be spitting in the ocean, Literally, they're not really doing much, And they also know that it's very expensive. And if you can get help from, the government from the top, this could really help out. This could change a lot of lives. This could really change the city. Could you imagine coming here and there's no homeless people because they're somewhere and they're doing something and they're getting back on their feet, that they're getting help and they're really doing something? I think this could be really, really amazing. Okay, let's get a little bit more wicked. Let's get a little bit more crazy now, guys. Okay, so next on the screen we have this neighborhood, Soma. This is Soma, South Park neighborhood, South Beach, East Cut neighborhood. This whole area here, I would let the construction go up in this neighborhood. Yeah, I would say no buildings under 15 stories. And the reason why I would say no buildings under 15 stories in this neighborhood is, number one, when you build up, you can provide a lot more housing. Number two, when you build up, you provide a lot more jobs. And number three, when you build up, this also adds a lot of tax revenue for the city. And once again, In your city, you need to figure out ways to make money, right? And you also need to figure out things that you want to change in your city. And if you want to change a lot of things in your city, well, you're going to have to do things like create jobs and create taxes for the city later. So I'd say in this neighborhood, let them build up. Let them build up. And the city will just reap the tax benefits in the future at a future date. Like, let them build up. Let them build up. It'll be more housing. Let's get rid of rent control. Okay, let's completely get rid of rent control. Now, I know this is very controversial, and this is something that'll definitely get this video a dislike if you haven't already disliked this video. But I would say get rid of rent control for the city, and we would replace it with the BMR program. Rent control is pretty much gone anyway. Like, if a building isn't built, I think if it's like it has to be built before 1972, it's covered in rent control. But all the new buildings right now are not covered in rent control. They're under the new BMR program. And the BMR program I think is a little bit more modern than rent control. The big problem I see with rent control is majority of the people I know right now that are in rent control units are people who can afford to pay a whole lot more. Okay. And then on the flip side, you have people that are in rent control units that, if they lose that unit, they're going to have to move out of the city because they've been living there for 30 years. They're paying, $700. The person next door to them is paying $2,500. I kind of see that as a problem. I kind of see that as a problem for the landlord. If you're a landlord and you got this building and you got 12 units in this building, right? You got 12 units in this building and 6 of them are rent control. And every year the taxes go up on your building. Every year it costs you more to have employees work on the building. Every year things cost more, but now you can't raise up the rent on these units that you have. So it puts you in a situation where you don't do anything to the building, and now the building looks like crap in our utopia city. So we would do that. We would get rid of the rent control situation, and also with more housing being built in Soma, especially in this neighborhood, with buildings going up to at least 15 stories, people could apply for the BMR program and they can live in a new modern house. And the BMR program could expand greatly than what it is now, because right now, if you want to get a BMR in the city, you can, but you have to go through, and it's like this lottery list, and there's only very few units on the market, and you got to jump through a lot of hoops, to get a unit, And if we built more housing, more people could get more units. Yeah. Okay. Now, I know some people may say that, what about water? Like there's a situation like San Francisco doesn't have like a lot of water. Well, if San Francisco doesn't have a water, guess what? We can build a desalination plant in Mission Bay somewhere. So we can, have more water hookups there. And we can get that money from, once again, some of these taxes from all these new apartments that are going up. Because if you just let if you let people build, they're going to build. If you change the laws and make it easier to build, you're going to see a lot more cranes in the city. But the city makes it tough to build. Like, you have to jump through so many hoops, and it just takes forever. Like this Trinity project at 8th and Mission, it's taken like 20 plus years for them to build these buildings. And the Whole Foods is probably going to open in, about a month or so, 2 months or so. And it takes so long to build in the city. And I would change that, yo. Like, let's build up. Let's build up. But once again, this is my utopia city. And, this is like sort of a video that is, we're in dreamland, guys. Like, don't expect any of this stuff to happen. I'm just making a video on a Saturday afternoon to entertain you guys. What else would I do in the city? I would add 2 more trains in the city. 2 more muni trains in the city. So first off, if we look at this map that I have on the screen here, I would add a new underground train, because once again, remember in Soma, I'm going to let, construction, I'm going to let construction go up to like 15 stories. Like, every building has to be 15 stories. Well, if that starts to happen, guess what? Soma neighborhood is going to be a whole lot more densely populated. So in this part of Soma, we need to build a new train. We need to build a new train from the Mission Bay, and we can have this train going up 7th Street, It can take Townsend, it can go underneath, and it can go straight up 8th Street. Once you get up to 8th Street, the train could turn, and this train could go all the way up to Van Ness, and this train could go underground all the way up Van Ness to Lombard. And if we make a train underground from Market and Van Ness going all the way up to Lombard and Van Ness, what we can do is we could take all the buses off of Van Ness and we can make the street a little bit safer. We can make the street flow a little bit faster because there's less buses on the street. If you guys don't know, the Van Ness Street in San Francisco is actually the 101. So if you're driving up from Southern California and you take the 101 and you're trying to go like up to Northern California, you actually have to go through the city of San Francisco. You have to go through the city. And I would make Van Ness flow a little bit more faster for the cars that are flowing through the city by taking the buses off, and we can put trains underground. And, it'll just be easier to get through Van Ness. Also, I would have the train go all the way up to Market Street. And then we would add a new line going underneath 16th. So we would have a train going all the way from Market and 16th all the way to UCSF to make a big brand new loop. And then along 16th Avenue, this could be a street that we could see we can increase the building height along this street, especially if we're going to add an underground train. So everything along 16th, we can increase the building height to like maybe 10 to 15 stories to make it more densely populated along 16th, since we're going to, add a new train under here, because trains cost a lot of money. And we can get Tesla's Boring Company to build this train for us. It'll be a lot cheaper than the other mini trains they've built in the past. Well, actually, it won't be cheaper, because back in the day, it was cheaper to build those trains than it is today, because back in the day, it was cheaper to pay those workers versus today, you have to pay those workers more. So we'd build this new train. We'd also build another new train. That train, we would call it the 69 train, by the way. The 69 train, that's what we would call it. We'd build a new train going all the way from downtown San Francisco, and this train would be underneath Geary Street. Yes. We would build a train going straight out to the outer Richmond. And this could, once again, take buses off of Geary Street. It's not like buses on Geary Street is that big of a deal. But the trains that are above ground are very, very, very slow. For example, if you are like commuting from the Bayview and you take the above ground train, it takes forever to get downtown. Even when they had the buses going from Bayview, the buses would get downtown so much faster because the train would have to stop at all these lights because the train's big. It takes the train longer to get up to speed, and the train stops all the time. The bus, if there's no one there, the bus is going to keep cruising. The bus is going to go through a yellow light faster than the train. The bus is just faster, And if you had the train underground, it would be even faster than the freaking bus. And I would say build an underground train all the way down Geary. Yeah, all the way down Geary. And then, if you're going to build an underground, down Geary, we'd call it the 38. But then also we would add more things in this area. Okay, we would sort of make this area a little bit more livable. So like if we look at this outer Richmond area, if we look at these squares, this whole area, we would increase the housing in this area. If a building was to be burnt down or something like that, if you want to build it back, we would say you'd have to build it back at like 5 stories or 8 stories, or it would have to be higher than what it was before. So if it was a 3-story building or a 2-story building, and if you want to build again, you could build up to like 8 stories or 10 stories. We would make it higher because once again, we're going to have this train coming through, and these trains cost a lot of money, and we're going to have more people in this neighborhood. And if we can make this area more densely populated with more units, we can solve the housing crisis. And once again, we could have more units. We can have more jobs. We can have more construction jobs in the city, So I would say this area we would add more housing. Other things I would do is, anything that's near a BART station, we would add more housing. So the Mission District, I know this is really going to get people to dislike this video, but the Mission District, I would add a lot more housing in between 16th and 24th. Yes. In between 16th and 24th, I would take South Van Ness and I would turn South Van Ness from 16th to 24th. I wouldn't make that the next Valencia. So you know how when you're walking down Valencia Street, it's all like, trendy, and there's all those shops, and, they have the bike lanes, and, they have the cool little lights. They just made it like all trendy, right? I would do the same exact thing to South Van Ness. The same exact thing. We would get rid of those gas stations. We would, move the gas stations somewhere else because we actually need gas stations in the city. Well, maybe we don't in Jermaine's future city because, I'm a huge electric fan. But I would say we would get rid of a lot of these older buildings on South Van Ness, and we would make the buildings a little bit higher just because we would densely populate this area. We would make this area just a little bit more modern. We wouldn't necessarily push out the people that live there. We would increase the low-income housing in this area. We would definitely increase it, because this area definitely needs more low income. But yeah, we would definitely add more to this area. There's a lot of abandoned buildings like along South Van Ness that are just sitting there, and it could definitely be, housing for 150 families, right? It could be housing for 50 families, but right now it's just sitting there. And I understand, a lot of people in the Mission District are against gentrification, but once again, this could be housing for families. We could do more housing there. Other more insane taxes. I wouldn't necessarily go after, billionaires and millionaires. I know a lot of people, especially a lot of people lower income in San Francisco, they say things like, we should tax the rich, we should tax the rich. I believe we should tax the rich, but the problem with taxing the rich is rich people are very smart and they're very sophisticated. So when you come up with all these crazy taxes for the rich, guess what? They figure out a way to get around it. They figure out a way to leave. They figure out a way to move their money. So creating taxes to punish the rich, it may not necessarily be like the best idea. I think we can sort of go after maybe CEOs and we could tax them a little bit more, right? Because they do make a lot more money than other people. Maybe we could make like some crazy like 10% tax, some 10% city tax on CEOs. So that would be something that we could possibly do. And this could, provide a lot more tax revenue to the city. What about things like drugs? Okay, this was something that I was talking about with my partner earlier this morning. What about drugs in your city? What about drugs in your city? Well, first off, if we don't have the homeless problem, right? Well, we shouldn't have many people on the street. And I would go ahead and take the bold step of legalizing drugs in my city. I would completely legalize drugs in my city, and I would have places where people can go and do drugs. That's what I would do. I would just go ahead and do it. Drugs are pretty much, I don't know if drugs are legalized or not. Like just on the street, I see people shooting up a lot. I see people, smoking crack. I see people doing all sorts of weird drugs, and I see this very often. But once again, if we don't have the homeless problem, maybe it wouldn't be so many drugs on the street, like where you could see them like walking down the street. So I would do some scenario of maybe I would have private companies, have like places where you can go do drugs and there's professionals there to watch over you. And, we would just have safe places. I know this could be very controversial, but yeah, I think we should have places for people to do like safe drugs because people are still going to do drugs regardless. Why can't we give them a place to do drugs safely? Other insane things I would do to the city is I would pretty much find private companies to take over roles that the city takes over right now. So for the most part, like things like people that fix the streets and people that like basically the city workers, I would replace those with some sort of corporation. And the reason why I would do that is I look at government like this. I look at government like they just spend money, right? They spend money and they spend money on things that a lot of times it doesn't, like they spend so much money on certain things like bathrooms. There is so much money spent on bathrooms in the city, right? I would take that whole division and I would take that whole division and sort of market that to like a private company because I think private companies could do it way more efficient than the city can do it. Because I think the city spends so much money on things that maybe they just shouldn't spend as much money on. Maybe they should hire like private companies to just do it. Like for example, like California has spent millions and millions of dollars on just coronavirus signs, right? And I believe if they would hire a private company to do that, the private company would have a more cheaper way to distribute coronavirus signs just in the state of California. And that could save the state of California like so much money. So I would like do things like that. I think that there's a lot of money just wasted in the city. Whenever you see construction workers like working in the city, what do you usually see? You see like 8 people standing around in a circle and you see one guy with a shovel, you know? But everybody's getting paid, you know? Like I would, change that. Like I make that private company, And this would be something that I think would be a lot cheaper for the city, to operate because, it would be a private company and private companies operate for profits and cities don't really operate for profits. Cities operate they operate like governments, And guys, look, this video is getting long. I can sit here and talk forever and just go on and on and on and on and on about little things I would change about the city. But these are some of the big things. If you guys want to see another video of me talking about more things I would change about the city or just more just crazy ideas that like I got on the top of my head that I want to get out and share with you guys, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you guys like this video because I'll definitely make a round 2 if you guys do. If you guys don't like this video, I guess I guess that's cool because it won't get a lot of views, right? But anyway, guys, thought I would share some of my crazy, insane, things I would do to the city, some of my crazy ideas. And guys, thanks a lot for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Peace out, yo.